Adults in the Room, a film by Kostas Kavras. But let me say up front, it is not on the level of Z, which is a classic, which is, if not the best political movie ever made, one of the top 5 or 10. And not because I say so, my opinion is just insignificant. I know and admit to that. I'm tempted to laugh because it's more than self-evident. However, I'm thinking of the fact that it was mentioned recently by the BBC. They have talking movies that program, and speaking of the upcoming elections, they're in the background, by the way. My note is so interesting that I don't give it all the attention. With one ear, I try and listen to what was happening last night with the last debate between the very stable genius who has to go and Biden. So they mentioned with this big thing in the background, political turmoil in the world also. They were mentioning the subject of political movies, and what did they select as paramount relevant was that the subject of adults in the room is interesting. It refers, in fact, to apparently a quote from Christine Lagarde during negotiations, clashes surrounding the Greek crisis of some years ago. At one point, she said, "We need adults in the room." It is based on the movie, on the book written by Yanis Varoufakis, the hero, if you will, of the motion picture, but the one I regard as an anti-hero. So there you have it. It's a biased note. I almost hate the guy. Yes, I gather that it's more complicated. He was defending the defenseless, the people in need, his country, his people, those who had to face cuts in salaries and pensions and restrictions and layoffs and so much else. But this man is so arrogant, so full of himself, so pathetic at times that I see him almost on a level with the aforementioned very stable genius, which says a lot. I mean, yes, he's not as crazy as the American leader, but then he is not the American leader. He was the finance minister in Greece. And although, again, we can see the points he's trying to make, and we also have to take into account that the movie itself is subjective, more than biased, in fact, because it's based on the memoirs, on the notes made by the grandiose character. And who knows how much of this is true. I mean, there will be some things which we can verify, leaks or even minutes of the talks, and some things were said in public in front of the cameras. Yes, all right, but what was said and done in private? Did he put a resignation on the desk, then he took it or not? How much he talked with the other important figure in this movie and in Greece's political life during that crisis and after that, Alexis Tsipras. We don't know how much is real, how much is just impressions and delusions of this fellow. Abrasive, intolerant. Yes, again, there is this thing, this attitude we have to have. We have to be, even if the man is obnoxious at times, we have to be open and understanding and see that, yes, there was also a question of pride, of rationality. Some of the points he was trying to make were, as a matter of fact, obvious. The measure imposed by the troika and the vilified German finance minister, Wolfgang Schäuble, is it, in a wheelchair, at least presented the way they're presented in the movie, are ridiculous indeed, imposing too much austerity, raising taxes, diminishing salaries, and would create a downward spiral where consumer demand will fall, then GDP would fall. It did, in fact, actually. And so they will have to borrow more and then service the interest and so on. Plus, there is the matter of, so much mentioned, the German cars. So the Germans gave money to the Greeks, billions, it seems like, so that they buy German cars, which is in a way preposterous. On the other hand, the Greeks lived much beyond their means. That's also another fact. I mean, they have to see that. And looking from here, yes, we're middle class, and I was tempted to say quite better off. If you ask the spouse who's outside, she's saying I'm a damn fool and I insist too much on not spending, and we're miser. I am. And so she has to spend no matter what the limit is and so on, like Greece. But I would say, seeing from here, a country which has to live generally with much smaller means, it is preposterous and incomprehensible to look at the Greeks and say, well, you're living with other people's money. Yes, it happened that they had that government corrupt, problems before the Tsipras team came in, and there's Varoufakis, Varoufakis. But still, it's nonsensical in so many ways, because here that's what we have, and that's how we have to live with. And elsewhere in Greece, somehow, through magic, through creative accounting, let's put it that way, they ended up getting money, spending it, but not money they own, not money they could pay back. So that was part of the problem with Brexit and so on. It's more complicated. I think one problem is that they try and explain it with talks, with discussions in private, with a group, with the Troika, with the EU, with Mario Draghi, but it gets it's too long at that point, when it becomes so technical that it comes close to a documentary. Documentary would have made more sense, because it wasn't what Varoufakis said. They would have to go and get more points of view, and so I don't know. It's, in a way, yes, there is maybe quite a lot you can find in this movie, but on the other hand, the heroes are unlikable, especially this Varoufakis. Tsipras, he's made to look not so loyal at one point, I would say. I don't know. And the subject matter is both interesting but also difficult to grasp with at points, I guess, and it's not exhilarating to listen to a lot of economical talk, and well, there it is.